Welcome back to this coaching program course. I'm Dr. Carrie Mankey, and this is part 6, self-love. I love this quote by Joyce Meyer. She says, if you don't love yourself, it's impossible to love others. You can't give away what you don't have. And this is just a perfect example of why we include this in the module for this coaching program, because we really need to work on loving ourselves so that we have the capacity to love other people. And this just kind of is the cumulative effect of everything that we've talked about as far as shame and just releasing anger, forgiving others, working through our triggers. So that's why self-love is included in this course. And what is self-love? I think there are some misconceptions about this in society. It's actually a state of appreciation for yourself. We aren't capable of fully giving ourselves to someone else, or at least the whole version of ourselves, unless we truly love, accept, and appreciate who we are. That's why it's important we talk about this, because it's not only important when entering into relationships with others, but also to find true happiness and joy in life. The happiest people, research shows, truly love themselves and like themselves, which is why we do all of those other exercises in the workbook, because they all weave in this concept of self-love as you work to truly figure out what you value, how to work through the traumas that you've been through and the emotions that come along with it, and then just to truly find joy and happiness, because happy people really do like themselves. And I also really want to point this out, that there's a difference between self-love and self-idolization. Self-idolatry puts your worth above someone else and actually can result in an unhealthy relationship dynamic. So it's healthy to be confident, yet humble. I used to think that the opposite of humility was pride, but it's actually not. You can be humble and confident and not get into pride. Pride is a whole different thing, but confident and humility can coexist. It's when pride comes in, you can be pride and confident, but you want to be humble and confident, because pride and ego is really unnecessary to have true self-love. It can hinder your ability to love others when you have pride in your heart. So in this workbook exercise, I want you to really think about what you love about yourself. And you might be a confident person. You might have a high degree of self-love, but it can help to identify those areas where you feel truly confident. And it can also help identify themes and areas where you want to make self-improvements. But I also want to point out that it's really important to realize that self-love should be independent from your accomplishments. If you would have asked me to do this exercise a few years ago, I would have probably listed all the things I love about myself for all the things that I was good at in my job, in just skills and talents that I loved about myself. Nothing about like my character and who I was as a person, because I didn't truly like myself and I didn't truly have self-love. So I found if I focused on everything that I was good at, that's what I loved about myself, because I didn't really like who I was at the core, like my true character. And so I just want to point out that you can write down anything you want in this exercise, but recognize that when you're improving areas of yourself, like let's say you want to develop a skill or a talent, that can increase your confidence. And then it can lead to increased self-love. One of the things that I've done is figured out, what am I good at? And how can I use those skills and talents? Because the more I use them, the more I realize, you know what, I'm good at these things. And then it boosts my self-confidence. So it's okay to write down things that you're good at. And, like your accomplishments in life, I've achieved that goal. I was good at sports. I was good at this and this. Because you can gain self-confidence from doing those things, but also just really dig into your character and who you are as a person. Like maybe you're just a really kind person and compassionate person, and that's just something innate about you, how you were created, and that's something you really love about yourself. So I know there's characteristics that you love about yourself, so just spend some time with this activity. Now, I want to practice self-love. This sounds really silly. It's like, why are we doing self-worship? We're going to set aside time every day for ourselves to worship ourselves. No, that's not it. That's idolatry. But it's actually necessary to set aside time for yourself to appreciate self-love. I've found in a research study that less than 7% of Americans aged 25 plus engage in self-care daily. The busier the person, the less time they take for self-care. Think about that. The busier you are, you're pouring yourself out into everything else you're doing in life. You're the most important person in the world to you, right? Like the number one relationship you should have is with yourself. And so if you're going to pour into other relationships and other areas of your life, it should start with you. Remember that quote by Joyce Meyer, we really need to truly love ourselves and spend time with ourselves and foster that relationship before we have the capacity to really pour out into other people. It is crucial to do self-care daily, to center yourself, set intentions, and find a true appreciation for who you are. You are awake for an average of 1,000 minutes per day. How many minutes do you actually take for yourself? Some examples of self-love activities, because I think some people get kind of crazy with this and say like, well, I need to take an hour-long bubble bath every single night. That can be excessive, especially if you have a lot of commitments, you've got small children, all of that. So it could be something as simple as sitting in your car after you get home from work and taking a few deep breaths before you enter the house to center yourself, bring yourself back to a state of calmness. Maybe meditation or prayer is right for you. For me, starting the day off with meditation and prayer is a huge part of my day. It sets my day on the right path, and I only take about 15 minutes to do it on a good day. If I have longer, it's great, but for me, that's a huge part of my self-care ritual. Maybe it's putting lotion on your feet for like 5 minutes and just really giving yourself a foot massage. And especially if, finances are tight, maybe it doesn't mean you go get a pedicure or you go get a massage, but give yourself a massage. And maybe it's only a few minutes, but you're taking that time to truly just center yourself and just appreciate who you are. Maybe it means observing nature. One of the best things I love about hiking is that I get to just look out at the creation of the world and just really take it in and just be out there alone. And that's a huge self-care activity for me, is to go observe nature on hikes. Now, I want to also point this out, and I know this is going to be controversial for some people, but self-love activities shouldn't include exercise. The purpose of a self-love activity is to engage the parasympathetic nervous system to calm the body. Remember, the sympathetic nervous system is the one that's activated when we're in fight or flight, and when we've had traumas, when we have traumatic memories come up, when we're triggered. And so that's the basis of what's happening in our body when we exercise. And so a lot of people sometimes replace that feeling of constant hyperarousal with just an exercise addiction. And that can actually be really unhealthy because your body needs to come back down to a state of calmness. And so when you're doing a self-love activity, I'm not saying don't engage in exercise, but that shouldn't be your self-love activity. I find that getting exercise is a huge centering thing for me. I get my best reflection time when I'm on the treadmill at the class at the gym or out for a run, and my heart rate is high, but I just truly reflect when I'm doing that. That's one of the reasons I used to love running. And just know that that's okay to do, but you also need to incorporate some sort of activity that's going to have a calming effect on your body, that's going to engage the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the opposite nervous system as the sympathetic, and it's going to calm your body and cause your body to just start to get kind of used to it. Now, if you are not used to doing self-love activities because you're used to being on overdrive and hyperarousal and sympathetic nervous system activation all the time, this might actually feel uncomfortable. It has to feel uncomfortable because you're so used to being on overdrive. And I went through a period of that where I needed to teach my body how to stay calm and how to enjoy it and relax, because my body thought something was wrong when I was in a calm state. We need to be hyper aroused right now. There could be danger. And so I actually had to train my body and my brain to say, oh, this is okay. It's safe. We don't have to kick that ignition on to say we need to be in overdrive and we need to be alert right now. So I had to teach my body how to be calm. And so whatever self-love activities you come up with, it could be whatever works for you and your schedule. Just know that it should be a calming exercise. Now, I want to reflect on the past and envision the future. And the reason we do this in the self-love module is because in order to envision a future where you truly are a holistic person that is healed from so many things that you've been through in life, and you have a high self-esteem and confidence, we need to think about a little bit about our past, our present, and then also envision what our future looks like. What you focus on grows. I can't stress this enough. I used to be a pretty negative person, and I used to reflect on the past a lot and say, I have been through this. I have been through this. I mean, I've been through some pretty significant traumas in my life, and then it just seemed like nothing was going well. I had health issues. I was in the hospital. I had surgeries. I had car accidents. Like every year, something drastic happened to me. And I was really starting to stay in a victim mindset and just say, oh my gosh, my life just sucks. Like everything has gone wrong. And that's catastrophizing. Obviously, not everything has gone wrong. But my reflection of the past really started to dictate how I viewed my future, because I was expecting bad things to happen to me because I would focus so much on the negative things that had happened in my life. And this is very normal when somebody has been through trauma, because you have a hard time seeing past this darkness that you went through, because your brain wants you to stay focused on that dark period, and that's okay because it's trying to protect you, right? Your brain wants to stay focused on it. It caused you pain. It's that protective mechanism that we talked about in the triggers and flashbacks module, because your brain wants you to avoid that pain again. So that's very normal that your brain is trying to do that, but it's very unhelpful, right? When you want to become a more positive person and not just expect bad things to happen to you in life. So when we only focus on those painful parts of our past, we are really robbing ourselves of identifying times of joy and noticing them when they happen in the present, because our brain is so focused on just looking for darkness and looking for traumas and bad things that our brain can't actually start to see the good things that are happening and the joyful times. And we really are just, you're stealing from yourself, from your current experiences of really truly being able to feel joy. I want you to complete this life balance wheel. And I've done this before in an exercise, and I found it fascinating because I thought, just at first glance, I look at this and I say, I probably know which areas of my life need a little bit more attention. But when I really sat with it, you can say, how satisfied are you with these areas of your life? It's not where you want it to be, what it is. It's really how satisfied are you? So in each area of the circle, I want you to spend some time reflecting, and you're going to put a dot or draw a line on the circle in that particular area. So if you are saying, I am extremely satisfied with my physical health, you're going to shade in the entire pie piece. If you're like, I'm about 50% satisfied, you're going to draw a line in the middle here and shade in just this piece of the pie. And so for each category, I want you to really do that assessment, and then you're going to connect the lines. And you're going to see your wheel. So you're going to look at this and say, is my wheel lopsided? Are there sections that are completely caved in compared to others? Or is it more of a round, balanced wheel? And I want you to think about, what areas of your life do you need to focus on to have more joy and fulfillment and self-love? And I actually really encourage you to do this exercise on a regular basis, because it can keep you abreast to what's happening and saying, oh, wow, I've really not paid a lot of attention to that area of my life. I should probably put a little bit more effort into it, because that's what happens in life, right? Like we get busy and we say, I've got this great new self-love activity that I'm going to do my meditation and my spiritual practice every morning. Okay, great. We start to fill up that side of the wheel, and then all of a sudden finances, we don't pay attention to as much. And so anything that loses our attention starts to kind of dwindle over time. So it's really helpful to do this exercise even quarterly throughout the year to see how your satisfaction is going in each area. And maybe if you are married, this is something you do with your significant other. Where do we want our ideal life? What do we want it to look like? Where do we need to focus our attention? And lastly, I want to end with this quote. You'll never have the life you love until you love the life you have. It's so important to truly love your life right now. Not the life that you want to have, not the person that you want to be, the person you are right now. And I want to give you just one last piece of advice that somebody gave me. And they said, if you aren't willing to do what it takes to get the life that you want, to get that life that you're envisioning, you'll never get there. So what does that look like for you? Where do you need to pour in more in your ideal life? Look at those categories. Where do you need to say, you know what, this is an area that I need to do some individual coaching because I'm just really struggling with that. Are you ready to take that next step? Are you ready to pour into yourself so that you can truly love the life you are leading right now? Not the life that you want, that you love really who you are right now, and you love the life you have right now. Because I can tell you that challenges are going to come, and you might experience more traumas in life. It's life, right? That we can't always control everything that happens to us in life. We can control how we react to it, and we can control how we go about every single day. And I can tell you that I probably still have the same number of bad things happening to me as I used to, right? I had a pretty unlucky streak with health issues and the car accidents and stuff like that for a while, but I still have big setbacks in life. Financially, relationally, I still struggle in certain areas of my life, and I still have things happen that I'm like, I thought I grew, I thought I learned from this, I still have disappointments coming up in life, but my outlook is so different because I love the person that I am. I'm confident, I'm humble, I love what I'm doing, and I've surrounded myself with healthy relationships. So I love every single day. Even though there are disappointments that come up, I am truly loving my life right now. And I'm not just waiting for the next thing to happen. I'm not saying, well, once I finally get this, I'll be happy. No, I'm loving life today. Because I know that if I let the current circumstances and the disappointments rob me of my joy, that it's going to rob me of my ability to even see good things from happening and then continue to manifest good things happening. So I hope this encourages you, because I want you to love the life you have right now and not wait for your life to be a certain way for you to start loving it and experiencing joy, because there's so much more on the other side of just finding joy in every single day. So thank you for tuning in with me. Thank you for sticking with me through this course. I hope the workbook was helpful for you. Next up will be the summary module, where we're going to wrap up all of the concepts that we talked about. So stay tuned for that.